Welcome, friends, to the Society of American Magicians lecture series. I'm Joel Batman Zaritsky, the Society of American Magicians virtual national president. And with me, we have the Master Blaster, John Midgley, and of course, the Engineer of Wonder, Brett Soul, joining us today. So before we get to the lecture, a couple announcements. For those who don't know, Magic Week is coming up. Magic Week is actually October 25th to the 31st. It's been going on for the past 50 years through the SAM. It's a special week of events that highlights the charitable work of all our members. And I'm going to ask you a question, put forth something to you. What can you do to help promote the art of magic? You see, a lot of assemblies are getting together and they're making virtual presentations, they're making virtual shows to send out to veterans hospitals, to nursing homes. We have ones doing to Ronald McDonald houses. So think about what you can do to help volunteer your talents to help promote Magic Week. I want to do a shout out for a couple people who are really doing an exemplary job online. First, we have Donna and Drew Cardella. For those who don't know, Donna and Drew are hosting every single week on Wednesday night.
My apologies.
Oh, Siri going. They're doing an amazing job every single week. Bring new talent in and open it for free that you can watch online. So look up Donna and Drew Cardella. The other one is Hank Feinberg from Florida, who again is giving every single week online events open to all magicians around the world. And the last is the amazing Anthony Darkstone, who is the International Assembly President, who is I love this guy. He's phenomenal. So he's done an amazing job. He's got the Darkstone dossiers coming tomorrow with Romani as his guest. So don't miss it. It's going to be fantastic. So huge shout out to those. And thank you for all those people. And thank you for joining us. You know, you are what makes this great. This is why we're doing it. It's because of you. We love having you here. Well, let's get to tonight's lecture. Now, I saw him many years ago in Wonderground in Vegas. And he came out and it was not a normal act. It blew me away. It was unique and it was so very, very entertaining. He's been on NBC, America's Got Talent, the Travel Channel. He's a regular performer at the Magic Castle. He's gone from a Fisher-Price magic set in preschool all the way to Jeff McBride saying he's brilliant. He is one of the top creators in modern magic. So ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Bizzaro.
That's not COVID safe. All right. How's it going, everybody out there watching who I cannot see or hear, but I hope you're there, and I hope I'm not just talking to myself as I usually am here in my studio. How's it going? For those of you who do not know me, my name is Bizzaro. I do strange and unusual things for strange and unusual reasons. Before we get started, for those of you who don't know me, I'm going to kind of fill you on a little something here, and that is how to spell my name, because some people have problems with it. I have been called a great many strange things. Gazebo, bazooka, Steve. But so I figured it out. What you do is you go home, you take your Scrabble board, the game you haven't touched in 20 years, you dump all the tiles on the table, and you spell out Bizzaro. And you've done it correctly. You'll know you've done it correctly because it will be 2 Z's and 1 R, and it'll be 27 points. 2 Z's, 1 R, 27 points. It's that easy. Now, you've done it incorrectly if it's 2 R's and 1 Z, because that's only 18 points. I feel I may have lost some of you over there somewhere. Let me try that again. We'll start over. 2 Z's, 1 R, 20. How does he do it? Why does he do it? Okay. So this lecture is going to be a little different than some of the ones you have seen. I'm going to be talking about a handful of different things. One of the things we're talking about later on is silent performing and how to run your music. And if you didn't hear it already, go get yourself a 18-inch piece of ribbon and or rope. You could use a silk, but it is not as easy for what we're going to be learning. So I'm just letting you know to grab that. If you just get bored and distracted, or like, I don't need to hear this, I'll just go find a piece of rope. And so, but it is breakfast here because, you know, it's Vegas. I just woke up. So I hope you guys don't mind that I've brought some food with me here. I have the breakfast of champions. Tito's. I would offer you some, but by the time I would get them to you, they'd be stale. So not much we can do about that. By the way, I don't know if you can tell by looking at me, but I eat healthy, which is a lie. Listen, if I want a definition, I'd buy a dictionary. So let's do this here. Let me show you one of my favorite snacks. This will not surprise anybody in the room here. Unfortunately, I've already eaten all of them. So that's, but there's crumbs left. You know, yeah, right. See, just right there. That's the best part right there. Just the crumbs. It's like Christmas anyway. But if I want more, all I have to do. Ooh. Here we go, just like that. Magic! Yay! Yes. All right. I'm going to save those for later because I'm going to need them. While I'm here, and this is going to be a little different, a little interesting because we're dealing with I can't interact with anybody. So we're going to do a card trick virtually. So let's see. I need to unmute somebody. If somebody could get unmuted at random for me, that'd be great. And I can't see anything over here right now. I can only see myself. So if somebody could just get unmuted at random and say hello.
About Dan Square.
Hey, how's it going?
Dan Square, I'm going to have him unmute.
Oh, we already have Greg Lancaster unmuted.
Oh,
all right. Let him fight. It'll be fun. All right.
All right.
I'm just going to run through the cards like this. And as I do that, just say stop.
Stop.
Okay. We'll go with this one right here. That is not a force. That's a free choice because that would be a silly force because I can see. So I'm going to have you sign the card virtually here using this marker. Oh, there's something on it. Hold on. Oh. Yeah. Hold on. There we go. I just had to fix that. Let me take the top off so we can. Hold on, sorry. It's been a long. What the heck is? What kind of horrible person would make something like this?
I can imagine.
Me. Look, ooh, rubber pencil. Ooh, it's an illusion. It's not really rubber. It's not even a pencil. Hold on, I have another one somewhere. You know what? This reminds me of something. You ever notice they put these optical illusion tricks into magic books, right? And they're like, "This is a magic trick to fool your friends." I'm like, "No, it's not." Like, you ever seen this one here where it's like it's supposed to look like the marker is shrinking and getting smaller? I've never been able to make this look good. I've tried for years. I cannot make this thing look any. Let's hold on. Ah, I knew it. You know what? Oh, you know what? I do have. Forgot I got the big one here. All right, how convenient. All right. So instead of writing your name, because we could have had this prearranged somehow through some very strange pre-show, I want you to name a random animal for me.
A cat.
A cat. Okay. I'm gonna draw a kitty cat on the card. Here we go. And that is the extent of my art skills. Kitty cat there. It's stick figure cat because, you know. All right. So I'm going to let everybody see the thing there at home like that. And then to make sure we do this the safe way here, we're going to put this in the same place the rest of us have been for the last few months. Drop your card right inside like that. And there we go. And now we will shuffle them. Ta-da! And they disappear from the bag because the bags are cheap. At least that was planned. I'm going to see if I can make that happen every time from now on. That'll be great. Oh, man. Do I have? Hold on. Let me see if I have anything else in here. Hold on. Oh, wait. Yep. No, I don't have any more Cheetos. I do have this here. I don't know if you've ever seen one of these before. These are great. This is dessert. This is those jumbo coins, right? But these are chocolate on the inside. I don't know if you can tell right there. That's chocolate right there. But this one is a little stale. So I wouldn't eat that one. What else do I have in here? Ooh, look at that. Ooh, Jello. Hey, yeah. There's always room for Jello in my pocket. All right. Well, I don't seem to have any other. I don't have any more Cheetos, so I guess. You know what? But we did it with the Oreo box. Let's do it with the Cheetos. Here we go. Watch. Whoa, I feel better. Whee! Hear that? Oh, there. The bag is now. Hold on. Let me grab this plate. It's full of Cheetos, and there's something else inside that came out with the Cheetos. Right there, and that is your cat sealed in with the new refill bag of Cheetos. There
Good job, Bizzaro. Good job.
Whew, I made it through in one piece. Good. Okay. Move that out of the way. I'm gonna have fun.
Muting.
All right. Thank you very much for helping me out. Good job. All right. I'm gonna have to pick these up. So. Let's learn how I just did some of that stuff there. So, I like magic with food. I don't know if you can tell. It's an organic substance. People are very familiar with it. And I like to do magic with ordinary objects that people understand, because if an item that they have in their own home does something amazing that theirs doesn't do, that's magic to them. You know, if you bring out some strange looking prop or box that doesn't look like something they've ever seen before, they just put all the credit on the prop, and I work really hard. I want the credit for the magic. So, you know, so there's that. So the first thing I'm going to show you is the Oreo box that I did there. This is an old idea of mine that was that I created independently, like about 12 years ago when I first moved to Vegas for a performer named Jordan Wright, who actually did this. What this backdrop is from. Him and I did a show together at the Magic Castle. There's video online you can find. It's Mr. Wright and Bizzaro in the Peller Theater. If you do a look around, you can find it. And this was created for him, and then I started using it, and it's a cool idea. And so there's something similar in the Rice Encyclopedia, Silk Encyclopedia books, which, by the way, if you don't have those, get them, because they're full of cool, weird gimmick stuff that you can modify and everything. You don't have to use silks, clearly. But the construction of the one in that book is a little different than this one. And I'll show you on what you need to do. So you need to find, and you can use, don't have to use Oreos, you can use any kind of tube like this. We've actually used a cereal box for one of Justin Flom's videos. Recently, Lefty was on Masters of Illusion, and he used a cracker box to do a production of a rose and stuff, very similar style thing. So this is a utility device. I use it with the Oreos because it's me. So you need to find two boxes that look like this, that are this style. And you're going to rip along the seam here, like this. And this is the gimmick that's on the inside here, and I'll talk more about that in a second. And this is what you're going to construct right here. This is the gimmick you are making, like this. And the way you make this is you take the one box, hold it out flat, you take the second box, you cut it in half, and then you're going to glue it here onto the back of this box. So you have this extra flappy-do here. Flappy-do is the technical term. You're also going to trim off some of the extra flaps on the box. I trim these off on this one, so there's not extra flappage here, and nobody ever notices that these disappear. That's not a problem. And of course, these go away here. So this is your setup. The other thing I do is I take nude Velcro, flesh tone Velcro, and I put it here in like 3 little tabs along the edge of the box, here and here. And I alternate. I have rough, smooth, rough, just because it makes me feel better. And so that is the construction of the box. The other thing I also do, this is for me, at the bottom of the box here on these flaps, I put 2 very thin magnets. 2 very thin magnets, one here and one here. And that is just to hold the box closed. You don't need to do this because you could just put your pinky there and it'll keep it closed as you pick it up. But this definitely just helps. It just makes me feel better. So I do that. Cheetos. So, the next thing you need is a gimmick tube that will fit Oreos cookies inside of it. And the original version of this, when I made it, was like just a piece of poster board that I just taped together. And then I figured out something really awesome. Certain kinds of large pill bottles fit Oreos exactly. Like, it's like they were made to hold them. Who says sugar's a drug? All right. So if you can find these kind of pill bottles, there's different sizes, so you may run into a few problems, but if you can find the right size, these fit a nice stack of Oreos perfectly, like this. And you will have to cut the top off here, this rim. You have to take that off with like a Dremel tool or some other, really good scissors, or if you're like me, you just have a bandsaw of me, just cut the thing off. So whatever. So you're going to make a tube of some sorts, and you're going to cover it in some black felt material like this. I don't bother to paint the inside because nobody should be able to see that. I then I found the easiest way to load these tubes is you take a stack of cookies and you turn it upside down. Instead of trying to drop them in because they'll rotate, you just load them from the bottom like this. And now you can kind of load individually. So you'll notice that my gimmick is loose in the box here. And that's just because if I work a place with weird angles, I want to be able to move this around to protect my angles. Honestly, there's no reason for this. You can glue it to one of these flaps. So you can glue it to the back of this one like this. So this just rides along on the flap there. So this is a choice this is just a choice for myself. I would recommend you just glue it to the thing so you don't like accidentally drop it or it flies out or falls out, because I've had that happen before.
Power off.
Oh, thank you. My speaker got bored and went to sleep. Okay. So to do this, you're going to take the tube here, you're going to lay it down on top of the gimmick. It's going to be folded like this. So you're going to place it inside like this V here. That's where this goes. Yeah. Okay. Now you're going to close it all up together inside, lock everything in place, and you're good to go. Now the nice thing about using a flexible load chamber is I am able to squeeze it and show it empty like this, because right now I'm just squeezing the plastic, and as long as you squeeze it where the top cookie is, don't squeeze in the middle if you filled all the way to the top, because then they're just going to fall out. Squeeze at the top. But I can do this, I can show it empty, there's nothing inside, which is a nice convincer. And the nice thing about the Velcro is you get the sound, especially if you're doing it close or without to music or something like that, you can get this nice box ripping sound, like you're actually ripping the box open, like that. So you pretend, you don't just go like this. Don't just rip it open like it's Velcro. Acting. You sit there and you actually like pretend you're having trouble opening it. So what's going to happen is I'm going to reach my hand in and I'm going to get a hold of this flap and this thing here like this. I'm going to hold it with my thumb and my fingers go in front of this, and I'm going to open this up. So this is the back view. This is what you're seeing here. Like this. From the front, it looks like this. And now you can, show, I mean, nothing says empty like this. Like this is empty. And then you just casually push these three pieces over as you regrip here. So you're going to essentially push this way and rip the tube from this side like this. So this is very empty. This is very empty. And make sure, because I've seen some people, when they do this, they'll sit there and curl in, and now you only see three sides. So make sure that you keep this flat. When you go from one side to the other, make sure you go from here to here like this. And now, you only need to do this once. There's no reason to be a magician about it, where you're like, ooh, don't do that. Just be like, clearly empty, close this, put everything back together. And now you do your magical gesture where I want the audience to have a visual of something that's happening. I want to convey to them an action they cannot see, right? So I want some sort of visual. So what I do is I turn my phone off there. So what I start doing is I start wiggling my hand from the top to the bottom like this, and I shake. So it's like something is materializing inside. This gives them the visual of filling, and this gives them the visual of something happening inside. So give it a magic moment where you're just like this. And now I like to use a plate. A glass plate is great, but you don't want to travel around with one. But you want like a plastic, not a paper plate. You want something that'll make noise. So then you can dump all the cookies out onto the plate, and it'll make a plunk, 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 plunk noise, and it'll be great. And the nice thing is they're real, and you can throw them into the audience, and people can eat them. Probably not after what's been going on. Probably shouldn't do that. But when all this calms down, you can probably do that again. So that is the Oreo box of death. So there you go. Just like that. I know that we've talked about if there's any questions, we're going to probably collect questions and then answer them at the end, near the end of everything. So just so you guys know, if you have some questions, throw them up and they'll collect them, and then we'll do a little Q&A later. So cool. So let's talk about the Cheetos trick that I did. So a little history. I have been very, very fortunate to, when I grew up in and around Dallas, Texas, is where I'm originally from. Even though I don't have the accent, it's true. And I was very fortunate because I had a lot of what is known as good places to be bad. I had a lot of places that I got to just do whatever I wanted. I could throw all sorts of stuff at the wall, see what stuck, see what people liked. I had all these venues that I was just allowed to do whatever I wanted. And in some cases, we just made our own venues. Before I moved out here, we were doing a show called Slice of Variety at a pizza place. The show had actually started at a bar that then went out of business and didn't tell anybody. We show up, we're like, oh, I guess we're not doing a show tonight, but there's people here to see the show. So we started running up and down the little area. This is like a bar restaurant area. And when we were running in looking for a place, we ran into this pizza joint and go, hey, can we do a show in the back here? And we just do a show. Do you care? And they're like, fine, we'll go ahead. So it became a thing. So every week it was me and about 5 to 6 other performers, depending on the week. And we were trying new stuff every week because we were just kind of working for whoever and whatever. It was really it was very informal. And afterwards, we'd all go out to dinner afterwards and talk about the show and everything like that. And it was a lot of fun, and it helped being creative. And so something I will say for you guys, if you have the opportunity or you can't find the opportunities, make your own opportunities. Go to a place, be like, hey, can I come in here once a week, perform for tips, start a show? Do you have a banquet room I can rent? Whatever. Make your own venues and places, and try to find places where it's okay if you're trying new things. It's a great exercise just to see what happens. This trick is what came out of that, and this was just an idea I had because I like the healed and sealed plot. Obviously, Anders Modin had the original healed and sealed that everybody went nuts for after David Blaine did it, and I thought, what else can we do that with? And so I came up with this idea of doing it with a bag of chips. So the first thing you need to do is go get I like using the small bag of chips here. I like using these small ones, little snack packs. They travel easily and they're a lot easier to deal with than the larger ones. So you're gonna need a couple of these. I use Cheetos because I just like the color. Here, the other thing you're going to need is some double stick tape. Here, you're gonna need a deck of cards. That's all over the floor. and you're going to need a paper bag. Not just any paper bag, you're going to need a special paper bag. You need a special paper bag that, first off, this paper bag is actually 2 paper bags that have been taped and glued together so it has stability. I'm probably going to, when I take this live, this by the way, some of this is part of a new lecture I've been writing that when everything calms down, I'm going to go tour with and do things with. So when I go on the tour, when I start doing more touring lectures again, they make Tyvek lunch bags. Tyvek is the stuff they make out of the white envelopes you send to the mail, and they don't rip. Like if you snip them, they'll rip, but if they don't rip on their own. So they make Tyvek lunch sacks. So I'm probably going to invest in one of those because it'll be double thick, it'll be a little bit bigger, and it'll be nice and rigid. So, but the one thing you have to do once you've made the bag is to modify it. You're going to need a hole in the back. You're going to need to put a hole in the back right here. Get as close to the edge as you can. I've reinforced the heck out of this with packing tape, just so it's rigid, and if it rips, you just put more tape on and you're fine. The other thing I have in here in the bottom is I have a very heavy weight. This is like just a iron base that I have in my garage. Washers, a heavy washer would be good. So this is just in here so the bag doesn't fall over, because without something in here, this can just move like this. So you want some sort of heavy weight inside of this. So this can basically, it's a Weeble, it wobbles, but it doesn't fall down. So that's in there. The setup you're going to do, so you're going to grab one of your bags and you're going to open it up. And the one thing you're going to do is you're going to open it up from the bottom, right? I open it from the bottom, and I'll explain why in a little bit. So I slowly and carefully rip this open from the bottom, and I'm going to pour a little bit of these out here. You don't need them all in there. I had a few too many in the last thing because people just need to know that they're in there. The other thing you're going to want to do, and I learned this the hard way, is you want to wipe the edge. You want to get all the Cheeto dust and oils and all of the any debris off the top edge, off the edge of the bag that you just opened here. So you want to wipe that off like that. And the reason for that is if you don't do that, the tape will not stick, and the Cheetos will fall out everywhere at the end of the trick, which is a little distracting. So you're going to take some double stick tape and I like to use 2 pieces, so I don't have to wrestle one long piece into place. So I put one piece on the half here, and then I take another piece and do the exact same thing. Now, normally, when you do a resealing package trick, a lot of people use rubber cement. The rubber cement works great as long as you're sure that the edges will never, ever touch. And the problem with this is there's so much going in and out of this bag. I don't want the edges to actually grab, because once they touch, you are screwed. So I use double stick tape as a safety precaution. So I now take this bag of Cheetos and with the tape, and I'm going to place it into the back of the bag like this, where it's just kind of hanging out the back. So it's just kind of chilling out here. Okay, that's what's going on. And now you can put all sorts of other fun things inside the bag, other items that will add to, because you need to be going in and out of the sack for various reasons and another. And so let me let me clean up real quick. So I've used these a lot. I've never had that happen. So that was really funny, by the way. So I've never had these bags rip open, but you know, hey, it's live. It's what happens. So you're going to have a card selected and you're going to have it signed and all that stuff. And the reason I had the bag in here, the bag gives me a reason to go towards the sack, the lunch sack here. So this is here like this, and I'm going to move these. And of course, that you want just a regular bag of Cheetos with just a few Cheetos inside of it or chips. You can be munching on them as you go. So I'm going to have a card selected here, and I have it signed. Now, one thing you'll notice, I use a blue marker. And the reason, I also use a chisel tip. I use this big, thick marker. And the reason for this is you want to use blue and green markers when having cards signed because they stand out. They pop really well against a card. Black can get lost in like a black card or a court card. You can lose the signature. And using this color card really helps reinforce, because even if they don't see theirs, even if they have trouble seeing the signature, they see that blue, and because it's so specific a color, they know it's their card because they see the blue and the number. They just put two together. You can use that for some other stuff. You can be sneaky on America's Got Talent and do some fun things with that. So and also, by the way, if you're gonna have money signed, American money especially, use red markers. Use a big thick red marker because that stands out against our green money. And you can see it from the back of the room. Black just disappears. Red looks amazing on it. So I believe that was a tip that was passed along for a few people from Adam Flowers, who used to street perform here in Vegas. So blue marker for cards, or green. So you have a card selected here, and you can switch this however you want. The method I like to use is something that I call a slow motion top change. That, again, independent creation. I believe it's an Earl Nelson thing originally. So, you know, instead of having to come here and do a top change like that quickly, what I do is what's called a slow motion top change, which is this here. So I get a break here in this card, and I place this card in between that card. So now this one's trapped, but it looks like what it looks like I'm doing this. This is what it's supposed to look like. I'm holding the card against the deck, but I'm actually trapping it between that card and that card right there. So what's going to happen is, as I come down, you're going to do a top change. You're just going to do it in the slowest way possible. And obviously, you don't want to look at what you're doing. This is one of those things you do as you come down while you're talking to somebody. So this is great for a stage, for when you're doing as a platform performer. It even works, obviously, in strolling and close-up as well. But so you come here, and as you come down, you're just bringing this one down and switching it for this one. It is exactly what I said. It is a slow motion top change. So as you come down, I just bring my arms apart and I put that on the table. So if you have trouble with the top change, start with this, and this might be able to help you just with that, the timing and the getting comfortable with the moves and stuff. So, but I like to use this here because it gives me the motivation to come down and go in the bag. So once you have switched the card, however you feel like it, what I like to do, and I like to leave the card visible at all times. I don't like to put it in the deck because I want them to think the card is here the whole time, like this. Because what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go into the bag to get out the Ziploc, right? And what I'm doing from this side is, as I'm reaching in to the bag, I'm just thumbing this card right into this bag. I'm just placing it in there. And you do it quickly, and you can come away. And if it doesn't go all the way in, that's fine. Don't worry about that. You just need to get it started like that. So nobody knows you've got this ridiculous hole in the back here. So you can come over like that. And now I've loaded the card into the sack. So that's what's going on back here, like this. So I place the cards into the bag. I give it to the spectator, tell them to shuffle. I drop their card into the bag right there. Nobody knows what's going on. So there's that. So now you're going to realize you're out of chips. You're like, oh no, what's going on? I'm out. Show the bag empty. And I'm going to turn the back of the bag towards the audience like this. All right. And the reason for that is since this bag is upside down, it's when the bag switches, it's really hard to tell the difference. If for some reason, this is all stuff that may or may not be important, but it makes me feel better. Subtleties, layers, little things that I think of and go, just in case somebody's paying too close attention. So this is in here like this. Now, what I'll do is I'll reach inside and be like, oh man, I wonder if there's something else. And while I'm doing this, I'm making sure this card is all the way inside. This is when this is when I finish the load. And I can pull out something else. If I have something else in here, I can pull it out and do magic with that, another item. Or you sit there and you go, oh man, there's nothing else I don't think I have anymore. And what's going to happen is you're going to notice my hands are going to be like this. I'm going to hold the Cheeto bag like this, okay? Because what I'm about to do is they're going to see this Cheeto bag. I'm going to reach in and actually, I'm sorry, I take it back. I think I have it here. Sorry, it's like this on the front. I reach in and I'm going to clip the one sticking out the back with my fingers as this one grabs this one and pulls it into the bag. So as I come forward, I do this and it just looks like nothing. It doesn't look like anything has happened because the bag looks like it has stayed in the same orientation. So I'll show you that again. So I'm here, I come down, and if you move the bag over a little bit, like that, instead of coming this way, you get a nice kind of like retention. It's like when you do, when you're stealing something from like a ball dropper or something like that, it's better to move your body away from the object instead of trying to pull it out. It's a thing. Some of you will know what I'm talking about. So one more time, I come here, I grab this, and I want to handle this now like it doesn't matter. I set it down, I look around, and at some point I'm going to pick this up and I'm going to hold it. This is a very interesting property of these. If you pinch here, if you hold it by just the corner, this looks like an empty bag because if it had weight in it, it should fall. This looks like, and if you do this early on as well, if you do this early on with this bag, if like when you hold it and it's empty and you hold it like this looks like the exact same bag, like this. So so if you hold this like this, that looks like an empty bag, a very lightweight empty bag. So now what I'm gonna do is I say, that's why I like to do the Oreo trick first, because I'm like, wait a second, we can do this again. So now I'm going to push, I'm going to squeeze all the bag together, making sure the playing card is out of the way. I'm going to push the tape together here, leaving a little opening. So right now, I've got just enough of an opening here to kind of breathe into and go like this. And I do that as kind of like the magic moment thing here. It's also a really funny visual, and you can make, Jeff Hobson jokes. I feel better, whatever. So, but it also pushes air into the bag. So once I push enough air in the bag, I seal it. And then as soon as I seal it, as I'm doing this move, I then grab and I throw the bag. And I try to catch it face up, because the reason I throw it is now you don't know the orientation. Like right now, this is upside down. And if I do this, the orientation's lost. And as I catch it and I turn it towards the audience, now we're back to where we need to be. And I can hand this out to let it be opened, because now they're going to open the top. Usually I don't open this. I usually give this to the audience and say, here you go, that's for you, open it up, have some. And they open it up and they're like, and I'm like, wait a second, what else is that in the car, in the bag? You could, if you had somebody on stage with you or you're doing something, you could rip it open and take a clear bowl and dump everything out of the bag into the clear bowl, which is a nice presentation as well. But if you're doing this like kind of a parlor style. So now you can hand them the bag, they'll open it like this, and then inside are Cheetos, and then also inside is their signed playing card, like that. And you can let them keep the bag, because if they inspect it enough to find the tape, it's not your problem. So that is a little thing I call not easy being cheesy. There you go. Whee! Yeah. If anybody has any specific questions about this right now, we can go over those a little bit. If anything has popped up that is very pertinent to this right now, I'd be happy to discuss that. Why is my air conditioner blowing hot air? That's not a good sign. All right.
People,
How we
people
doing?
love it. People love it so far. So
Oh, good. I would hate if they didn't. All right, so we'll go over. There's a couple of things that I'm going to go over near the end of the lecture. Some of the product stuff that I showed a minute ago. So, but what I'm going to do now is we're going to have a little bit of like a little bit of an intermission kind of thing, and we're going to. I have a video of just a goofy presentation that me and my friend the Shocker do a show together. That I just kind of want to show you guys. It's this routine we created a couple years ago called invisible knife throwing. And I just think it'd be a fun thing for you to watch, but if you have to use the restroom and you get a drink of water, go do that right now. And I'm going to go set up for the next bit. So we're going to play that video and we'll be right back.
Now, once again, this is Halloween at the Magic Castle, and we wanted to get a little more dangerous for you guys. So Bizzaro has been studying for months with some of the best sideshow artists in the world to perfect the ancient skill of knife throwing. Then we got to the Magic Castle, and we found out some magicians aren't responsible with sharp objects. They know the story. So we're not actually allowed to use knives in our act, but that's not going to stop us. He doesn't want to let you guys down. So he studied all night and has become the world's only invisible knife thrower.
Power on.
Custom crafted each one of these blades from recycled parts of Wonder Woman's jet. Zara, would you like to show them what invisible knife throwing actually is? That shows a little bit of his accuracy. Now he's going to go one step further. He's going to get one of the most classic targets in all of shooting, the aluminum can. Bizzaro is then going to plunge his invisible blade into that can. Now, most people would do this to show off their skills while they were completely blindfolded. Not Bizzaro. Bizzaro is going to do this while making uncomfortable eye contact with someone in the front row. Accuracy, but it doesn't really show the level of danger we're looking for yet. So what we need... Oh, you jammed that in good, didn't you? So to show off the level of danger, we need someone who is not afraid of sharp objects. Maybe a barber, maybe a chef, someone who listened to a lot of emo music in high school. Let's see here. Let's see. Who were you pointing at? Yeah, that's what I'm picking you. Come on up! You look like you have daddy issues. What is your name? Margaret! Everybody give a giant hand for Margaret! Has a balloon for you, Margaret. What you're going to do is you're going to take the balloon and you're going to hold it firmly up against the bullseye right there. And stand back a little. There you go. Right there. Do not move, Margaret. We do not want any bounce back. Like last night. one more. Come on over. I'll take this stick. Bizzaro has a chair for you. You're gonna have a seat right there, Margaret. And we're gonna move your horns just a little bit because we have a tray for you. You're gonna place it right on top of your head. You're gonna hold it firmly in both hands. You can look up a little bit, you know? Yeah. Perfect. And Bizzaro is going to fetch probably what is the most dangerous target in all of accuracy shooting. He is going to attempt to recreate the William Tell. Now, Mark, this is a little more dangerous. We do have another level of safety protection. All right, good. There you go. Firmly on the top of your head, Margaret. Perfect. Don't move. Don't even breathe. Careful though. I was standing right there. You gotta watch your backslash. This is a brand new routine. We just started working on this. Sir, I did not mean to get you wet. You, on the other hand.
Hey, are we back? Are we live? We good to go?
Yes, all set.
Awesome. All right. Thank you guys for coming back. Thanks for sticking with us. Thanks for watching that. This is a toast to you. Thank you for not being 4 people. I appreciate that. So this is for you. Salute. Here's something fun to try at home. You pour some of this into your hand and you squeeze really tight. It turns back into a horse. Ooh. If you didn't get that joke, Google it. It still won't be funny. I began life as a silent performer, and I still perform silently, but that was my first love, and my first. And over time, I've started doing more talking stuff, but I've always liked doing silent stuff. And when I performed on the street, I was a silent performer. Nightclubs, bars, all silent stuff like that. And Vegas, obviously, a lot of silent as well. And so I thought I would share and teach you one of my old silent routines. I used to do this on the street. It was a good crowd builder and a good audience interaction piece here. And the best part is it basically uses the exact same move for the whole thing. There's 2 moves, but one of them you just do the over and over again, but it all looks different. So normally I would get people up to help me, but because I can't do that, these will be my helping hands here today. So let's do something silly, shall we? messed up. Let me start that over. There we go. All right. It's a little rough because, I'm not used to dealing with stands with hands. I'm used to dealing with people. So there you go. That is just it's a rope routine where you don't lose any rope. That's my favorite thing about it. It's not a cut and restored where you have to keep buying hanks of rope over and over again. If you're traveling, this routine just uses the same pieces of rope over and over again all the time. That's all you need. So I like to use a piece of about 6 foot of rope, about like this much, about as long as my arms, right? You could use longer, but it gets really cumbersome. This is about what I like right here. So you get a piece of rope. By the way, I like to use colored rope. A lot of people are like, white is very visible from a distance. And actually, white is not as visible as yellow or red or a blue or something like that. This is more visible from stage, especially against a black background. White it's weird how light kind of wraps around the white, and a thick white rope can actually look thinner because of just, the way optics are, I guess. So I highly recommend using a piece of colored rope. It is more visible from a distance. So you're gonna need that. You're also going to need 2 of these fake knots here. These are essentially an Ouroboros knot, if you know what that means. It is a piece of rope tied in a knot and then glued together here. It's gonna be blurry, but basically you tie it and glue the 2 ends together like this. So this is just a continuous, like a figure 8 of rope, right? The first time I ever saw something like this was, I believe, I don't remember the name of the trick. I was a teenager. I bought a rope and tube effect from Aldo Colombini at a TAOM convention in Texas. And the knot they had inside was like this. And I went, oh, I like that, because the problem I have with most knots is they have these, you just tie a knot and there's these ends sticking off, which I don't like. I like this because this looks like a knot right here. So I prefer this. The other thing I have done is, because this rope, this magician's rope is hollow, what I've done is I have stuffed a magnet inside of the rope and glued it together. So these are actually magnetic. These will stick to ferrous objects. But this is aluminum apparently, so that won't stick to anything. Blade my hip? No, okay. So these are magnetic as well. So you need 2 of these. The other thing you're going to need is this can. This was not in the act originally, but I realized as I started doing it, when I took it indoors, it needed kind of an ending, because sending the people off is great, but there's a few schools of thought of you don't want to end your routine with people on stage with you, because it eats up the applause and it distracts people and everything like that. So the nice thing about adding this in was you get 2 rounds of applause. You get the round of applause for them as they leave stage, and the people think the routine's over. Then you get a kind of a kicker at the end, which also helps extend the applause if you want to. So what this is a little clear. This is plastic. This is a paint can. I got this at I believe Joann's craft stores. This normally has a handle on it, a wire handle. This is just like a decorative fake paint can, and I pulled the handle right off of it. And I added this sign that says knots here. And the reason for this is not only to tell people what this is, but also it hides the gimmick. And the gimmick is this all this rope in here that's been tied into knots, but it's all glued together. This is like a shield here. You can see here that is what that is, just kind of this like bundle of knots and stuff. I also have magnets and a metal plate all taped in there like that. That goes inside. And this thing in here falls. So this is all blackguarded, and this is suspended by fishing line. So the hard part was making sure everything was at the exact same level here. So this hangs and hides behind that sign like this. So this just looks like it disappears, especially if you eat, because I can hold this kind of back against myself for bad angles, and there's that. So this is the other thing you're going to need here, and you can fill this with confetti. You can put a silk inside of it. You can put something else inside of it. So you could. This is just a utility change chamber, if you will. For this routine, I used a silk here like this, and I have a small magnet. This is a little like spherical magnet in the end. It also helps as a weight as well, but what I do is I give this a tight, I believe this is called a Boston roll. And if you're not familiar with this, I'll show this to you real quick. You take the silk, the magnet that's at the end here, and I'm going to fold this over just a little bit, and I'm going to start tightly rolling it in my hand like this, just using my fingers and my thumb and just rolling it into a tight ball. There's different ways of folding silks. A lot of different people have their own methods. This is just the way I learned when I was younger, and that's the way I always kept. So this gets a nice tight roll like this, and I'll put this inside, and the magnet grabs onto this metal plate that's inside of there, and I just kind of leave it in there because it just, it's yellow, it matches, it looks like a knot. So that's just hanging out inside right there. The preset is I take one of these, and this will be in my case. Normally I would have a case, but that's on a case-by-case basis. And then the nice thing about this is I can just have this magnet, this knot stuck to the can here, 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 wherever I need it, so I can access it easily. So this will be in my case, or in this case, my table. And the other knot is I'm going to string this through the piece of rope like this. So this is now on here like that. So that's how that starts, like that. Now there are two other phases in this routine that I don't do for the lecture and stuff, just for various reasons. But I'll show them to you anyway if you want to add them in and mess with them. But so the move you need to learn. This is the time to get your rope and or ribbon and or silk. We're going to learn how to tie a fake knot. It's weird. I have found that this move is not well known, even though it's like Mark Wilson. And this is one of those things I just learned out of Mark Wilson because I thought I should know it, I guess. Mark Wilson Course of Magic has this in there. Rice Silk has it. I don't have the credits of who created it in front of me because I'm a bad magician. But I do know it. I just don't remember it. So if you're curious on the history, hit me up and I'll let you know. I'll look it up for you. Anyway. So we're going to go over this, and normally in a lecture, what I would do is I would teach everybody, and then I'd play some music and make sure everybody understands it. But because this is video, you can go back and watch it. So we're not going to spend a ton of time on it, but I'm going to do my best. So you're going to take your piece of ribbon or your silk or your rope, and you're going to hold the first end. If you are right-handed like I am, in your left hand, clip it like this, and you're going to throw this end over here like this. So this is what you want, like that. Now you're going to reach into the hole right here. You're going to reach through like this. This is what's going to happen next. And as you do this, these fingers are going to kind of grab this. So you'll notice, like, it's very hard for me to do this slowly. I'm so used to just doing it. So this is my kind of get ready. This my pinky grabs here. In preparation for this. So, but this is I'm just kind of breaking it down for you. So you get your loop, you reach through, your pinky holds that in place like this. Now what's going to happen is this is kind of complicated. So now this loop here is going to go between these fingers. So there's some digital gymnastics you kind of do here, but it'll all make sense in a second. So here, so now what's going to happen is I'm going to reach through the loop, and I'm going to grab the end that's on the back of my hand, the first one you clipped. I'm going to go here. I'm going to pull it through the loop, and as I do that, what's happening is these fingers pinching this are going to create a bite. and it's going to lock in place. Now, you don't want to pull this too hard because you can actually make a really impossible knot. But right now, that is a knot that if I shake, it'll just upset and disappear like that. So I'm going to walk you through that one more time, maybe a couple more times. Here we go. So clipped. And if you want to do this now, grab at the pinky, throw that over your thumb. You're going to clip here. And now, because what's happening is these two fingers are kind of, you're letting this get pulled off. You're going to let go with this finger, by the way, like this. And you're just going to let that pull itself closed like that. So, and it's the exact same with rope, with silk, with ribbon. It's the exact same for all of it. And I'll show you with a longer piece, it's a little more cumbersome, but it's the exact same thing. Exact same move, just pull. You've got a bite there, like that. And it's the same with this thing here. Same move, same energy. Again, here, throw, clip, pull. And one thing that you'll notice happening as you start doing this is if you don't move your fingers, if you get your fingers like in here, like not at the fingertips, you can actually like get your finger trapped in the knot. So don't do that. So that's the move. That is the basics of the routine. That move is, you see it like 4 times essentially. I think 3 or 4 times. So one more time at speed. Here we go. Grab, throw, grab, pull. And so when you get it down, you can do it without looking like this, and you can do it like this, just without looking, and just tie it and see right there. I tied an actual knot. I had to pull the heck out. I pulled that too tight when I was upsetting it. So you'll start to learn the right amount of tension. The other thing I want to show you here is you want to throw, if you want the knot to be in the middle of the piece here, you're going to throw a lot like this. You don't want to do a little bit. You want you want a lot of this end to go over, because that will put the knot, hold on a second. That will put the knot in the middle of the ribbon like this, or close enough to the ribbon. If you do it too high like this, you'll end up with it really close to the top, and you want to aim to the middle. So you'll learn kind of like about where to throw to get it in the center like that as well. So that is your homework for tonight. Practice that, get it working, and then you can do this routine. So let's go through it. So you have your piece of rope with the knot in it. And that was funny. So you get 2 people up to help you out. And I do a little subtlety here where I pick up the knot in my left hand, and I transfer to my right, or you can start in the right too. You can pick it up. But anyway, I go to hand this person the rope, and I just slide the knot along the rope. So I hand this to this person over here. I'm going to have to actually do this again, like this. There we go. And now I actually hand this person this knot, because it's fine. Like, they're not going to open. I mean, they're likely not going to go, "Hey, what's this?" Most people are nice. That's up to you as a performer to kind of gauge if the person who you're getting is going to be a jerk or not. So if they're drunk, don't use them. Anyway, I hand them this knot. I just give it right to them, because I believe in sacrificing one for the good of the many for magic sometimes. So this is what you're going to have this set up here, and you're going to take your there we go. You're gonna zip ties. You're going to take your silk here, and you're going to do the same move I just taught you, but you're going to do it on the rope here, okay? And what that causes you to do is it lets you do a penetration with the knot. So what I'm going to do is I start from the bottom. You can go from the top, but I find it easier to go from the bottom. I do the exact same move, throw, but one thing I'm going to do a little differently here is I'm going to reach, and same thing, but I'm going to grab this hanging piece on the right side of the rope, the side facing the audience, and there's a reason for that. And I messed it up in the first part. So here we go. So here, and now I'm going to reach, and I'm going to do the exact same moves. Boom. There we go. So now this is actually tied on. And what I would normally do with an audience is I would be here and I would let that go and be like, all right, tug of war, go. And let them play tug of war for a second because it's funny. Especially if you get like an adult and a kid. You're like, what are you doing? Stop it. You know, it's a good moment. And so I move this out of the way. I have somebody from the audience randomly point, or if they're not close enough, I'll have one of them point to a place on the rope. And I'll move this to that spot that they said. And now all I have to do is pull. And that'll happen. You don't want this to happen. I lost track of where I was. Let me start that over. So here, like that. What you want to have happen is you want it to pop like this, either in front of or behind the rope. That's the reason you reach around this way here, like that. So you just want to be aware of, oh, I know, sorry. It's been a while. There we go. Oh, yeah, and that can happen too. I just got that kind of caught. So that's the reason I said earlier, grab a ribbon or a piece of rope. It's much easier to learn with because there's less bulk going on there. Okay.
Power off.
Thank you. So there we go. So that goes through, penetrates through. It's a nice moment for the audience there. And now I will take this, and I'll take this back from the guys, grabbing the knot out of his hand. So now I have the hidden knot again, and I have this like this. Now I will put this in my mouth, just in my teeth here, because I want to hold this in place. What you can do if you're not comfortable with that, you can take this and drop it on the floor and step on it. But I find this to be fine. Again, COVID stuff. This is, you maybe don't want to be. You want to be a little more. Maybe don't want to do this part. But so here, like that. And now you're going to do the exact same move. Nothing has changed. Okay, you're going to do this. And now, however, be aware I'm going to reach back around behind. So pay attention to this. So you're going to throw this. Sorry. You're going to throw this and you're going to reach behind and do the move like this. Now you tie a real knot. Because when you pull, the knot comes free and penetrates the rope. One more time. Come around from the back. Throw it and reach around this way, behind the rope, not the front, behind. Behind. Do the fake knot. Tie a real knot. And pull. Comes right off. So there you go. So now you're going to throw, just put that in your case, get rid of that. They still don't know this knot is here because this has just been here. So I'll take this, move it to the center, throw that behind my neck. So now the knot is chilling out behind my neck, and I'll pull real hard and do a little subtlety like this, where the knot is trapped between my neck and my suit and everything, and I'm able to do this because now we're going to do the old rope through the neck routine that is in every book. And if you don't know it, I'm going to run through it real quickly for you. You want, again, if you're right-handed, you want one side to be longer than the other. So in this case, the left side. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my left hand and grab up high, about here, about nipple height on men and women. Grab here, and I'm going to grab here underneath. Left hand top, right hand bottom. And I'm going to pull the left hand this way, like this. And now this hand is going to legit wrap the rope around your neck like this. So I'm going to pull up and I'm going to do this. You'll notice it's creating a bite. This is essentially just the same thing we've been learning. It's just around your neck at this point. So now, because of that bite, that will enable me to actually pull the rope through my neck like this. So here we go. Like this, grab high, left hand high, right hand low, pull to the left, continue around, make the bite, pull, lock it in place. And now I will have these people grab the rope and pull tightly. And when they do, it looks like they've created a knot without actually having to tie anything, which is nice. So now I have this moment. That's a nice, like, oh, where'd that come from? And now I can do your traditional cut and restored, thing here. And what I sometimes will do is I'll have this person hold the rope here, and I'll have this person pull the knot. It just depends on how I'm feeling. I'll basically be like, hey, grab this. I'll have them pinch the knot, and I'll pull the rope out of the hand while they're holding it. It just depends on how I feel, how cooperative they're going to be. So that's a good moment there. Now I reach into my case for my knot can. His name is Don because it's full of knots. Okay, but anyway, I reach into the can and grab the can, and I palm. I'm just basically palming this against the can here like this. So if it's here, you can reach in and grab, or you can reach in and just move it down, whatever. So I bring this out. And I try to be fancy and throw it in there and move it around to make sure the magnet locks onto the magnets, because you don't want this to be loose in there. So right now that knot is attached to a magnet in there like that. And I'll set this on the ground, retaining this knot in my hand. So this will be on the ground in front of just there. And finally, we're going to do the last false knot. You're going to, while holding out here, you're going to do the exact same thing we've learned. Fake knot, boom, tied. And that looks pretty legit. So now I'm going to take this hand. I'm going to reach up and grab and just kind of hold this knot in place as I hand this person the rope. And while I'm doing that, here's what's happening. I'm kind of pulling this free as they're holding it. So now this knot is gone. This knot is upset. It's very angry. And I'm going to use my thumb to push this piece of rope into this knot. And so now that's what I've done. And I can come out like this, and I can kind of, mess with it a bit if I need to. And I let this person hold the rope, and I make sure they're not pulling too tight on it, right? So now you've got this very realistic looking knot that is removable, right? So what I'll do is I'll pick up the can and I'll hold it here and tell them to pull slowly. And as they pull slowly, let me see if I can get this. As they pull slowly, the knot falls off into the can, which is a great moment for them, right? That's a great applause cue. You take the ropes back from them. You send them back to the seat. The audience thinks the routine is done. You put everything away. And you kind of look and make sure those knots are magnetically attached to where they need to be. And now you get ready to do your finale with the confetti or the silk. And then you just turn this upside down, which will cause the thing to unfurl or dump out. And you're going to kick the can a little bit back towards yourself as you do it. So here, boom. And now I just pull this to unfree it. And I can bring this down and pop this in my pocket or whatever, put it away. And the audience goes wild, hopefully. So that is my silent act rope routine. That you can something that you can do, because a lot of performers I know are like, oh, I wish I knew how to do a silent act. I'd like to learn a silent act, blah, 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 something like that. And a lot of people think a silent act is hard, and it's not. What's interesting about a silent act is it's very easy, because you take something you already know, you turn on some music, and you just shut up. Don't say anything. Now, there's obviously more to it than that. There's a lot more to it, but that's really the first step, is just not talking and trying to convey what you want to convey without words. And that's the exercise. That's really how to start doing a silent act. And it's just take something you already know. Take a rope trick, take a card trick. There obviously are some things that don't translate the same, mentalism, maybe not so much. But something like a rope trick, a professor's nightmare even can be done silently. There's a number of things that can be done to music. And as a silent performer, I have some tips to help you if you want to do a little more silent performing. One thing that I have seen when I see silent performers, this is something that's very important to me. Like, I have to stretch before I perform because I'm very my body's very tense while I'm on stage, because the tension equals believability. And it's one of those things where, like, you want to be intentional. You want your conviction of what you're doing to be believable. Because I once saw a performer. She was fairly new. She was a little green. I had never met her or anything like that, but I was watching her perform, and she was doing something at a show we were both in, and somebody asked me afterwards what I thought. And the problem was you could see in her face the choreography, right? She was just going through the moves that she'd practiced, but hadn't practiced enough. So basically, on her face, you could see her thinking, walk forward, look right, arm out. Like you could see her thought process. And the thing is, when she moved, there was no tension in her body. It was just rehearsal. And she was kind of performing at the audience, not for the audience. And somebody afterwards asked me what I thought. And I said to myself, and I came up with this line where I said, movement without intent is just choreography. So you want to have tension in your body. Instead of going like this, you want to go like this. Like you want your arm to actually tense, because when your arm tenses, that draws a focus, and it also shows that you mean it. You know, when you bow, you could bow like this, or you could bow, like you could snap. Now, obviously, it depends on your performing style and things like that, and how you want to be perceived and everything. But the audience will pay more attention to you when you are focused on what you're doing, or as I like to say, without tension, there is no attention. Right. So when you're tense, the audience isn't paying attention, because you mean what you say, and you're saying it without words. So when you move deliberately, move with intent, move with tension. You'll notice a big difference, especially as a silent performer, when you do something. If your body is like, tense. Now, I don't mean you're like tense the whole time, obviously, but you get what I'm saying, hopefully. If you want to have some real fun as a silent performer, even if you're not a silent performer, watch video of yourself without the sound on. That's a good one. I've done that many times where I'll be performing and I'll just kill the sound, so I'm not listening to the music or the dialogue, and I'm like, what am I doing? Why am I making that face? What's going on here? So as a silent performer, that actually can help, is to actually watch yourself perform to silence, and you can see where things need to be cleaned up, maybe because you're fiddling with something. Here's a good tip when you're doing the knot tying, and I mentioned this earlier, but when you're doing a mundane task, when you're doing something like tying a knot or putting something away or anything like that, just nothing that needs focus, don't look at it. If you can start to look at it, but if I don't need to focus on this the whole time, right? I can start, and then I can look at the audience. Don't focus on mundane tasks. If you can, every moment you can engage with the audience is a moment that they get to like you as a performer and be more drawn in. So the more you can learn how to do something without looking at it, when it's not important to what's happening, because right now they saw me tie a knot, but the knot is what's important, not the process of tying the knot. Come on, you. There it goes. So don't focus on mundane tasks, because when I was younger, I would see video of me doing this. I would be in character, and then I'd go down to look at a mundane task, and my face would drop. I would sit there and be like this, because I'm just paying attention to something I need to do. But if you can learn to do it without that, it helps you also stay in character and stuff like that. So, speaking of looking at things, one of the things that also helps, and this is actually also something you'll see and you'll learn from if you do ventriloquism, is look before you look. Like if I need to look over here, my eyes go first, then my head. Like this. It's old vaudeville. I mean, that's the best place to watch silent stuff. Watch old silent movies, old vaudeville stuff like that, and you'll see that the comedy comes from, it's like this, it's like the eyes first, and they talk about that ventriloquism when watch puppets, guys who are really good, like Jeff Dunham, the puppet's eyes, if the eyes can move, will look first, then the head. Somebody's trying to call me. So that's one thing as a silent, and their body language is very important as a silent performer, and it's one of those things where I could do a whole video on this, and I might one day on just the different aspects of being a silent performer. But the best thing I can tell you is take a routine, something like I just taught you or something you already know, and just turn on some music you like and go to it. And here's something else. Okay, so this is something this is the first time I'm going to talk about this. This is something I've been contemplating going back and forth on about silent performing. So I have a saying, like, I don't like to dance. I'm not a dancer. Like people pulled me on dance floors and I just feel ridiculous because I just don't, it just doesn't, dance does not move me that way. And so it's like, I don't like to dance. Music doesn't make me dance, it makes me move. And people are like, dancing, it's the same thing. And it is not the same thing, and I'll tell you why. Watch the lead singer of a band, of a good rock band, like watch the Mick Jagger of the Rolling Stones. He's not dancing, he is moving. So one thing that has helped me in all of my years of silent performing is I just listen to music that I like all the time, and I move to it like I'm the lead singer of a band. And that will teach you a lot about just how your body moves and how you can move on stage. And it helps you with that tension. Watch lead singers. They are nothing but tension and movement, and they command attention because of it. And if you can don't get over any of your ridiculous feelings. If your wife is home, I do it. My wife's used to it, but if your wife is home and you feel embarrassed about it, don't do it in front of your wife or whoever, your wife, your husband, whatever. But who cares? Do it anyway. If you're into the music, put on some headphones and rock and just be like, yeah, boom, bah, let's do it. Stuff like that. So, that's my biggest piece of advice for you. That's something new I've been wanting to share with people like that. So my doorbell just rang for some weird reason. I'm gonna run downstairs and see who just rang my doorbell. Somebody distract the audience for a second.
Yeah, no problem. That was interesting. I thought it was for sure from my end. All right, well, while he's doing that, I don't see our president here, so I guess I'll speak up. Oh, there he is.
I'm here.
All right, he's here.
Remember that you can put questions in, especially towards the end, we'll unmute you and you can ask questions as well. But
I'm still doing the thing. So.
Yeah, so I just wanted to thank everybody that came in here. We had SAM members 160 at one point, I think, and then hundreds from outside of SAM. So thanks everybody for being here.
Well, I guess they got bored and left. There's not that many anymore.
No, they're still here.
Still here. Still here.
I'm kidding. Sorry. So I'll let you know what's going on. So right now on the, one of the things I've been doing in all this is on the side, I also build escape rooms. And so we're in the middle of an escape room build. And so one of my partners, the Shocker, just showed up to finish working on stuff. And he wasn't supposed to ring the doorbell, but he did. So
wait, he didn't show up. The Shocker's awesome.
I know. He's downstairs in the garage with power tools. So
all right, fair enough.
Anyway, so let's what time is it? Let me see here. Yeah, all right. So let's we're gonna go over a silent act of mine. I'm gonna kind of I'm gonna take you through the thought process of it. And I don't know if you guys have seen this before. This is my Dorito bag act, and the history of this is very interesting. So there was a girl I knew many years ago, and she told me about a dream she had where there was like a bag of potato chips swimming around in a swimming pool like a shark, and it was and I was like, that's really funny to me. And there was some other stuff like red envelopes, and they had babies and all this stuff. It was a dream, but I really liked the concept of like a bag of chips that was alive. Right. And I'm a big fan of nacho cheese Doritos. They're the best flavor. Cool Ranch can suck it. Anyway, so I thought it'd be really funny to bring a bag of Doritos to life. And it's the routine has evolved a lot. I created it. I started working on it in like 2004, 2005, somewhere in there. And it has evolved a lot. Anybody who's known me, anybody watching who has seen me do this act since that time, if you hadn't seen it in a while, you'll see the differences. And it's very interesting, the arc this thing has taken. So if we put that up on the screen, I'll just kind of talk over it. And I'll ask you to pause it here and there as well. So.
This being the Halloween season at the Magic Castle, Bizzaro has brought with him his love of classic monster movies. And in the back, he has got something so stuffed full of preservatives, it should not even be allowed to exist. And tonight, he's going to attempt to bring it back to life.
All right, here, pause it real quick. Pause the video if you can, real quick. Hello?
Joel, can you pause it? There
Okay.
he goes. All right.
All right, so the beginning. I'll tell you a little bit about the difference of the beginning of this video. The beginning of this didn't used to be this way. The Doritos used to be in my briefcase. They were never in a grocery bag, but then that started to get cumbersome because I had too much stuff in my briefcase. The Frankenstein concept came way later. I was performing at Magic versus Science out at the Magic Castle in 2011. And I thought, oh man, on the drive out there, I thought it'd be cool if I took jumper cables and hit it with electricity and brought it to life. That'd be cool. But originally it was just alive. There was never a reason for it to be alive. And so I eventually hit upon the idea of it being kind of like a Frankenstein thing where a lightning strike brings this bag of Doritos to life. And when I get to perform in front of a video screen, I actually have video of lightning striking so I can put the bag in front of the lightning strike. And you can see it, you can do that. Now, obviously in this situation, we didn't have a video wall, so we just used lighting effects and stuff, but you'll see that I use this like creepy old 50s music that's has kind of a zombie monster feel to it. And then of course I use a Young Frankenstein sample because, I'm a nerd. But all right, go ahead and play it again. I don't know if it's visible. All I see is your head. So this routine, you'll notice, is more of a puppet act. It's more puppet mime based, which is what I wanted. I wanted something that was just interesting. And so you'll notice there's a lot of there's not a ton of magic in it, but there's magical moments in it. And go ahead. So this bit here is just because it's funny. Like, it's not magical, it's just a gag. And I have this belief that in routines, and especially magic routines, it's okay to have moments that are just for fun or cool, that aren't necessarily magic. They're just magical. I call them layers, and this is what I consider a layer, where it's just for fun. It's just a joke. It's let the audience in on the gag, basically. Go ahead. All right, so this bit here, so this was never originally in the routine. This was an accident. So what happened was I was performing. So the original version of this was I would reach inside of the bag and start pulling stuff out of the bag. And at one point, I pulled an umbrella out. Like I had the old gag where you have like an umbrella and you drop into a hand. It's all it is. It's the sheet. There's no pole. It's just a handle and fabric of the umbrella, and you drop it into a hat or something. So I wanted to do the opposite of that. And so I actually made a umbrella with a collapsing antenna inside of it. So I could pull this umbrella out of this Dorito bag and then lean it up against the wall, right, as a production item. And I was doing this act. This is when it was very new. And the thing just fell out of the bag because there's a hole in the back. It just fell out the back of the hole. I was like, oh, great. So I had to eat up time in the music, and I don't know what came over me. I just reached in, and I wear a clip-on tie when I do my silent act. And so for some reason, I just reached to the back of the bag and pulled my tie out as a moment of improv. And I went, as just something. And I went, that's funny. There's something to that, I think. I think there's something there. And so the story then became the bag wants my tie. Like it becomes this whole tug of war thing. So just through the evolution of just doing the act and playing and screw ups, you know, it found its feet. Like sometimes it's these routines are not fully fleshed out at the beginning. Sometimes they just evolve over time. And this is one of those moments where it was like a complete just screw up led to this improv, which led to a light bulb going off over my head. So that's why the story now is I brought it to life. I don't know what I was expecting, but now it just wants my tie. And now I have to get it back. So go ahead. All right, so that bit there, this may come as no surprise to many of you. I am friends with Sylvester the Jester, and he's also one of the performers I saw when I was younger, who I thought was great. His act was so interesting and unique, and obviously you can tell there's some influence there as well. And at one point, I had this idea in a show where I would produce a pizza out of a newspaper. Like I'd show an empty newspaper that produced a pizza. I would then trip and into the thing and pull, and then my face would be ripped off onto the pizza. And then I like the idea of my silent character being hollow inside, like a chocolate bunny. That's why it's black, right? Like you're seeing inside of me. I find that very entertaining. And then him and I talked. He said, that's a little too close to my flypaper thing. I said, that's fair. I get it. I'm with you. So I had this face piece sitting around. And when I wrote this act, I went, oh, I know. I'll take this face piece that I made and have the Dorito bag bite my face off. That'll be fun. And it's this weird moment. It's the only moment in my act that is like it. And so it really takes people by surprise, because at no point have I done something like that cartoony. And I did mess with the idea of putting like a muscle, like bone and muscle on there for a Halloween show. And people just laughed. Like that looked more cartoony than just a hole in my face. So I keep the hole in my face as kind of this is like, oh, like it really like surprises people because I haven't done anything like that up to that point. So it's this very cartoony moment amidst like less cartoony stuff. So that's where that whole face piece came from. I was like, hey, let's put it in this because it's funny to have a bag of chips bite my face off. All right, go ahead. This is just classic comedy. This is just a comedy bit. But it gets me to this moment. It gets me to the tiny Dorito bag moment, there's the moment coming up here in which the tiny bag of Doritos will turn into a larger bag of Doritos. And before this routine, I think before that went in the routine, I was working on this gimmick where I would turn a carton of milk into a bag of Doritos because I always say, make the magic to who you are. Don't make who you are to the magic. So find things you like in your life and create magic out of it. And I like to drink milk when I eat Doritos because I'm a weirdo, I guess. And I was like, I want to talk about that on stage where I would talk about, oh, I wish I had some Doritos, and turn that. And then I realized it was just dumb. There was no reason for it. It was just a thing. I was like, it's not, it didn't fit in what I was trying to do. It just was like, all right. But I had this gimmick of this thing all folded up that would turn into a bag of Doritos. I went, oh, I can use this in the Dorito act to make a small one into a big one. That'd be a great moment. So that's the other reason for the shrinking ones. It gets me to the small one, which then becomes the big one again. So go ahead. Now, I'm not an amazing mime person. I've never studied it. Just so you like, so anybody judging me off this, this is just from practice. Like, I've do my best. Okay, so that ending right there is a little different. So there's a handful of things that have changed a lot in this part of the routine. So when I used to get rid of the you want to say hello? You lean in, you want to wave your hand in there?
Hey,
Yes, the shocker.
Shocker. So originally the bomb was never a thing. I would just put the thing on the ground and be done with it and fix the tie. That was the finale. And I realized there needed to be a button on, like, I need to get my revenge on the Dorito bag. And I was like, I don't want to use like a black round cartoon bomb because that's too cartoony, and a grenade is too realistic. So I kind of thought, okay, time bomb, sticks of dynamite tied together is cartoony and realistic. So so that's why I used that. Also, it's brightly colored and very colorful. And then the other thing with the tie, I used to have a lunchbox that I would drop the tie into and close it, shake it, and turn it into and fix the tie that way. And basically it was a giant like card gimmick box. And somebody said to me, it's like, you could do better than that. I said, I know, I was being lazy. And so that kind of lit a fire under me to come up with the visual transformation where I would have the frayed tie and then it would just visually restore itself. And so that's why that exists, because somebody basically challenged me to fix it. It's essentially what happened. And then the other thing that also influenced the explosion at the end is finding a confetti shooter that ran off batteries and was remote powered, so I could actually not have it. Because when I first started doing it, I had a CO2, and you'll see it in this one. So in this one, because the Magic Castle is on fire, we had to put the bag on the ground, and I have a CO2 confetti cannon on the floor behind it that would shoot confetti up. But when I normally do it, I hold the bag high in the air and it blows confetti everywhere, and it's this great ending when it works, because sometimes it doesn't because electronics. And my backup for that is I have a back pocket full of confetti, and if the thing does not fire, I reach my back pocket and yell boom really loud and throw the confetti in the air, which is really funny, especially if you know the act. So, have a backup. But anyway, so all these things kind of came together to give me the ending, that big like boom ending that the act really needed, because the restoring of the tie was okay, but it wasn't big enough. And so that's all the stuff that you're about to see here is kind of the like latest culmination of everything coming together. All right, so there you go. There's a little step-by-step walkthrough of one of my silent routines, so you can see the thinking. Because when you perform, what this represents is inner dialogue. I was kind of showing you my thought process of what's going on, because when you perform, especially a silent act, having an inner dialogue helps you. You don't necessarily the audience doesn't have to know what it is. Like, it just needs to be kind of the story of why your inner motivation of why things are happening as you're performing this act. And this isn't just for silent, it's for everything, but silent really helps to know internally what's happening, so that way you're invested in the moment and the story and what's going on. So to close out with, I want to talk a little bit about music. As a silent performer, you want to have you want to use music, and it's amazing the difference music makes in a show. And I don't mean just like the music you're performing to. I mean pre-show music, walk-on music, walk-off music, audience walk-on music, stingers when you a ta-da moment. All this stuff is very important. In my show, I have a lot of sound cues. Like Shocker and I's show has like 40 some odd sound cues, because I'm a stickler for sound cues in music, because it just feels like a more polished production. It's, you notice it when it's not there, but it feels like a better performance when it is there, right? And so it stands out, especially if you see a show with it and without it. And if you're in a show with a performer who doesn't use it, it's actually interesting to see people who come on to music and everything. And you'll notice, like when I started this show, the beginning of this, I came onto it and did a silent piece to music. And opening a show with a silent piece to music is great because it helps set the tone and the character and the feel of the show. You can say a lot at the beginning of a show by doing a silent piece about what they're about to experience and see. And so I'll show you what I use to kind of run my music here. I use a program called Go Button. When I discovered it a long time ago, but this is it right here. This is called Go Button. It is free if you just need one track list. It's $100 if you want multiple track lists. It didn't used to be that way, but then QLab bought it, and that's just the way it is. But this is a very full-featured thing here. Now, this is on the iPad. On the iPhone, it looks differently. I run all my music from my pocket. I actually have a remote sewn into a pocket that just fell out on the floor. I have a pocket here right at my hand height. So as my hand is resting, I usually use this here. I usually use this little guy, but the battery died on it. This is Satechi, S-A-T-E-C-H-I, Satechi Media Button. You can't find it under remote. It's a media button, and it's a Bluetooth remote, and it Bluetooths to your devices, and it's great. It's all Bluetooth remotes will go to sleep by default. This one takes like 15-20 minutes, which is nice. So this little guy sits in my pocket. You'll notice there's kind of this little nubbin here, that little red dot. That's like a little jewel, a little piece here, so I can feel it through the fabric. But again, this sits right at hand height on my coat right here, that little black pocket. So I can just reach down, and without any movement of my hand or arms, I can just start my music right there. And I can go to a bar, a nightclub, and just run it right from there. And it all plugs into this, and it all runs from this here. So like the iPad version is different from the iPhone version, because this will actually show you from a distance what's going on and what's playing. So you can set this at the front of your stage, and you can see exactly what's happening in real time as it plays, the cues and stuff like that.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls,
so
children of all ages.
This is not my music. This is a default thing. But what's nice about this is this lets you go in. You can edit this. You can edit audio tracks. You have a ton of control as a show feature. You can have an announcement play, and the music will dim down automatically. You can have tracks stop and play other tracks. Like, you can do a lot with this. So I highly recommend this program if you want to run your own show music from your pocket, or even not from your pocket. This is just, you can have somebody else, your sound person, just hitting. Basically, they just have to hit this button for every cue. That's it. That's all there is to it. And it has sound effects. So you can have sound effects playing, everything like that. So that's the program that I use for my when I perform, and that's what I'm using right now on my phone. One thing that I've learned is you should have multiple remotes. I do have a multiple remote system. There's it's there. I think they're going out of business, unfortunately. So find them now. There's a company called iJet, buy iJet, B-U-Y, iJet.com. They're these little remotes and these little dongles that plug into your phone. The problem is, because the way iPhones have changed, and they're only for iPhones have changed over the years, they become harder to use, which is why I've moved over to Bluetooth buttons. Bluetooth, and you can have multiple remotes tied to through Bluetooth and stuff. But one of the things I've done is I've taken a piece of plastic and I've taped it to this remote here. So you can see this, I just tape this to my microphone stand, and this becomes a foot pedal. They actually make Bluetooth foot pedals that you can basically act as a remote. So if you don't want to have this on your person, or you can't have it on your person, you can have it just sitting on your microphone stand or next to it or on the front of the stage, and just step on it and use that as a remote. Or you could just make your own. Like I said, like this is my foot pedal remote. It's just a piece of plastic with a piece of tape, and it just, when I step on it like that, it'll start my music. So that's handy. The other thing I'm going to show you here, this is called an LTI box, or LTI blocks. This is what you normally use. You put a laptop into this. You plug your laptop, your iPhone, your MP3 player, your iPod Touch, whatever, iPad, into this, and it runs into a DMX, XLR cable, same thing, kind of. So this plugs into this. So you can have this, if the venue you're working, which is most professional venues, have this ability. You plug this in, you can have your sound device on stage with you. So I know people who just hook it to the microphone stand and run music from their iPad or iPhone from their stand. But it's nice to have this on stage in case something goes wrong, because it can and it will. Look into getting these if you want to run the music that way. These little Bluetooth speakers that exist now, this is like just a $30. These can put out a lot of sound. I use this for my lectures, and this thing is fairly loud, especially for a small room. Like birthday parties, these little $30 speakers, the technology has gotten to the point now where this can cover a lot of distance. These little things like this are great. You no longer have to bring a Fender Passport giant thing with you anymore, unless you're doing like school shows and auditoriums. The other thing you're gonna want to have is a kit, a bag full of cables and wires. I mean, technically, this should be this and like one or two other wires is all you should need, but you never know what you're gonna run into. So in here, I have RCA cables hooked to this. I have adapters of all shapes and sizes to go from large to small. In here, I have RCA to headphone jack right there in case I need it. I also, I think it's in the other room, somewhere I have the XLR to this size here. One thing you're going to want to make sure you understand, though, is you want to get, especially for soundboards, is balanced audio, right? So if you plug into a single channel, your sound is going to sound terrible. It's going to sound tinny. It's going to sound like it's in a tin can, because you need balanced audio. And so you need a cable like this that can plug into both ports, or something like the LTI box or a direct box that can do a balanced signal, something like that. So be aware that you're going to want to get the right kind of cables and know the soundboard you're going up against, like that. So that is also very important. The last thing I'll talk about on music is your choice of music. When you are, some people like to use popular new music, which is fine. I personally prefer to use instrumentals and unknown music, just because that's the kind of stuff I'm into, but also there's a bit of psychology to it. Now, it also depends on the kind of performer you are. There are people who I know are street performers, and they will use modern club music because it gets people's attention. They walk by and they go, "Oh, I love this song," and they want to see what's going on. So it can be used in that way to draw attention, because then the music's just acting as kind of a background. It's not part of the routine as much of the routine. But there's the psychology on this is, if you start playing a song people know, what happens is their brain stops focusing entirely on you and what's going on. In their brain, they're going, "What is this? I know this. What are the lyrics to this? I love this band. What else do these guys do?" So you like pop music they know or is radio played or popular can be distracting to people if you're using and so like if I'm using an instrumental song, a track, or a song nobody's ever heard before or very few people have heard before, then that enables people to focus and go, "Oh, I like this." And now they hear that song and associate it with me. Like if they hear it, they go, "Oh, I saw this magician perform to this. I loved this." So there is some psychology to picking the right kind of music. And then there's also using, classic well-known tunes. The beginning of Matt King's show, he plays "If You're Happy, You Know It, Clap Your Hands" as his intro music. Gets everybody into the show. Everybody knows it. There's a band I know called Cowboy Mouth who plays "Sweet Caroline" before they come out, and it gets everybody's energy up and peppy and everything. And that's what pre-show music is for, is to kind of set the tone and the mood and get everybody ready for a show. Dan Sperry uses a song "Magic Moments," which is this Perry Como very lovey-dovey song, but it's very contrasted because he's sawing into his neck. So it's this really good contrast of like creepy with classic. So it really depends on your performing style and who you are and what you're into, but also kind of knowing what mood and vibe you're going for. When you start performing to music, just turning on some music is fine, but eventually you want to have the music say something about what's going on or give you a certain feeling. I have a routine that I perform to with duct tape, and I was trying to find some music that sounded and felt sticky, right? And so the music I settled on had this, if you listen to it, you hear in the background kind of what it sounds like is tape being stuck together and pulled apart, kind of a, and I heard that, that sounds like a sticky tape sound to me. So, you know, I heard that, I went, this is perfect for what I need. So choosing the right kind of music can be very difficult, but also if you just kind of start listening to all sorts of music. Now, getting into like going on television versus live performing, you get into copyright and clearing and all this stuff. You know, half the music I use in my shows, I have permission from bands because they're from obscure, unknown bands or people who are not on a record label. They're on their own label, which is far easier now. And some people like Jeff McBride have their own music written. And if you have that ability or have friends who can write your own music that you own outright and works for you, absolutely do it. Go on Fiverr and find people who will work for cheap to make you some music that you own, and you can do it on television. You can do it anywhere in the world that you want and don't have to worry about copyright issues. Let's see, I want to make sure I've covered everything here. Cables, yep, okay. So with all that being said, for those of you who sat through this and gone all the way through, I have a special deal for you. Some of the things I showed off to you earlier, like some of the products that I kind of threw together here for you guys. The chocolate coin trick here that I did earlier with the chocolate coin here. It's a special gimmick. Goes on top of any 3-inch or 80 millimeter for our metric friends. And let's face it, things sound better in metric anyway, right, ladies? This goes on anything here like that. That's so you just do the steal that off. You saw at the very top of the show the color changing sponge balls that I created here, where you can do this and well, that's not what just happened. let's go back. Go back to what we were doing. Okay, these are my color changing sponge balls that I put out a long time ago, and there's also a DVD that has like 7 different tricks with it, as well as a gimmick that lets you do things like this. No, like that, sorry. So then you can do color changes and things like that with the marker. You can do cool things with them like this, where you can reach up and pull the color off the ball like that. So there's those. The glue bottle that you saw earlier, which is that bit. If you do like corner store newspaper, you can rip up a newspaper and then drink this and then lick the newspaper and restore it. It's a good, fun utility piece. And then you saw some of the Sharpie marker stuff I did. I have a whole DVD called A Marked Man that has like 16 different Sharpie marker magic tricks on it that I created. The Sharpies are all usable before and or after. There's not a ton of gimmicks going on. I also talk about sleeving in there as well. And I've included one of these double-ended Sharpie markers that I showed you in the show as well, right there. But you know, there's tips on sleeving and all that stuff as well. So because for those of you who sat through the lecture, I have kind of a package deal of all this stuff. You get it a little cheaper, and shipping is included if you go to smapdoodah.com/Sam, S-A-M, lowercase. There's a deal thing, yes. There's a little package deal for you guys, and that'll be up for a couple of weeks. It won't be up forever. So if you're seeing this and go to the page and it's not there, should have been quicker. Sorry, but it'll be up there for a couple of weeks for you guys as a treat, for those of you who came out to see the lecture and everything like that. And that should be all I wanted to talk about. Let's take some questions and then go home because we're already there.
Jimmy C., I think he had a question about the music.
Yes.
Jimmy C., I'm going to unmute you. Go right ahead.
I just wanted to ask, what is the name of that unit, that music unit that you have for on stage?
The one that I'm running the program?
No, I got that. That's a great program. The small little box that allows you to take it on stage and connect.
Oh, yes. It's called LTI blocks, BLOX. I don't know why I'm getting closer because that doesn't help.
I'm sorry,
LTI BLOX.
Thank you.
This is Brett. If you notice in the chat, I put the link to the exact box in the chat.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Great show.
Thank you. Thanks for sitting through it.
Great lecture.
All right, who's next?
Someone just asked, could you just go through all the stuff that's included in the package?
Yeah, sure. You get the color changing sponge ball DVD and a color changing sponge ball. So you get this nice little starter kit together. You get the Marked Man DVD, which has all the Sharpie marker stuff. The the trick called Foiled Again, which is the chocolate coin. The glue bottle here with the non-toxic. I believe, yeah. Normally I would include lecture notes, but this lecture doesn't have notes, so I believe that is it. Yes.
Great. Oh, what is the name of the music software?
Go Button. Go Button. Button.
That's all. Brett also put that in the chat. So if you scroll up in the chat, there's a link straight to it.
Yeah, and I'll tell you something interesting about that program. So when I first discovered it, I started talking to the guy who made it, and there is a couple of features in there that I specifically requested for performers specifically. There's a feature. So one thing nice thing about Go Button is you can configure the program to run off of the remote. You can configure the remote to do certain things, so you're not just stuck with play, stop, forward, backwards, right? I mean, that's probably what you're going to use. But what's interesting is there is a feature that he calls the oops button, or the oops feature. I call it the undo feature because I Photoshop a lot. But what it means, so for those of you who have ever tried to work any of this stuff from your pocket, you'll know that sometimes you accidentally trigger multiple songs if you hit a button or you lean against a table and it'll trigger multiple things. You're like, huh! And there was no way to really fix that, because you had to sit there and stop and try to figure out how many spaces to go back, and then you were screwed. So what I said I wanted is, if you accidentally trigger something, what would happen is the last song that was playing would just fade out and reset. So basically you would just undo what you just did. And he eventually implemented it. So now you can, if you accidentally trigger too many cues, you just have to hit the button. I configured my back, like my go track backwards button, to basically be the oops button. So I hit that and it'll stop, it'll fade the music out like nothing happened and reset it back to start. So that was something that when I was beta testing it, I was like, performers need this. So you're welcome. All right. Any other questions?
That's it so far.
Oh, wow.
They're also curious.
Explain things really well or not well enough. I don't know.
Really well. People were really, yes, very great. Somebody did want the name of that Bluetooth button again that you're using.
Oh, yeah. Satechi, SATECHI media button.
Is that the one that comes with a ring too, that kind of like pops in and can clip?
I think so. Yeah. I think so. Yeah. Yeah, no, these little guys are great, and this one also just chills out here. I would have been using it, but the battery died, so I got to get the batteries for that. But yeah, no, but the one, I will say one thing: there is a limitation with Bluetooth. Bluetooth only reaches so far, like 30 meters ish, 30 feet, 30 meters, depending on the Bluetooth. So make sure you have a backup in case you're going into a place where the sound booth is like way at the back of the room. Like a lot of people have bought the audio apes, and those are fine. They're very pricey for what I need most of the time, because I'm working comedy clubs, and if I'm working something where I need that much of control, I'm just going to bring a sound guy or whatever. So there's I have this other weird Bluetooth remote from the same company, this which is ridiculous. It's this thing has a keyboard. Like, this thing is ridiculous, but it's still, I have it as a backup. But the iJets I have as a backup. I have different buttons on different remotes just in case, because the more you perform, the more you realize you need a solution for every problem.
So what is your background and how when you look at your performance? I mean, it's truly a performance. It's all put together, and you're talking about the music and the cues and this polishing. Is this like from Fitski or how did you get so polished?
It's from performing my entire life since I was a kid. It's like all I've ever done is been in the entertainment business since I was like 6. I started magic at 6. I wanted to be professional at 13. I'm way further along than 13 now, and And it's just one of those things where it's also the secret to being a better performer is giving a damn. If you care, every performance is an opportunity to fix something and learn something. Even if you've been performing for 100 years, you can always sit there and go, I bet if I said that line a little slower, a little faster, put a little more second pause, I bet it'd be funnier. Let's try that tomorrow. There's always something that can be changed and tweaked and fixed, even if it's minuscule. And so it's like I'm hypercritical of everybody, but more so of myself. Like I'm very hard on myself. So I'll watch video and I'll get a video reacting. I want to put this online. And I watch it and go, oh, this is garbage. Even though nobody else would think that, but it's me. And I'm like, I want it to look good, or as good as I can right now. And so it's just coming from the background of paying attention to other performers. I mean, and I've read Fitzke, I've read Maximum Entertainment, I've read all the performing theory books, Foundations by Eberhard Rees. I've read all these books. But by the time I got to them, I'd been performing for so long, I knew a lot of it. I went, oh, well, I'm not alone. Good, okay, I already. And some of the stuff, they put a name to it, or they put like I never had a cohesive thought to it. I just knew it, and they're like, blah. And I went, oh yeah, that makes sense. That's what you call that. Cool, all right. But yeah, it's just performing as much as possible and wanting to put the best product forward is really what it's about.
And how are you able to do that? You talk about being so critical of yourself. How are you able to shift gears and look at it as an opportunity of this is a way to fix, this is a way to alter, instead of like beating yourself up?
I mean, you beat yourself up and then you have to drop it and get over it. I mean, you have to be honest with yourself. Sit there and go, well, that sucked, but I got to fix it. Let's like, don't let that happen. Like one of the big things I've learned is if it happened once, it'll happen again. Fix it. Don't let that happen again. Keep fixing problems until no problems can pop up anymore.
And why you have so many backups. So backups and backups.
I mean, Jessica Jane did a lecture, I think, for the IBM, one of the jams, and she has this travel bag that is, I mean, good for her. And she's performed a ton, but I'm like, wow, that is excessive. You must have encountered a lot of problems. Like, holy crap. But yeah, no, there's it's just stuff you learn as you perform. Like there are things that, there's so much minutia that I don't think to talk about because it's just part of my life.
Sure. That
if we were sitting around talking about it, sitting on a table and it came up and be like, oh, let me tell you this this trick and stuff. But yeah, no, but going about what you said is just, being hard on yourself is part of being a damaged performer, but you have to eventually just let it go and be like, okay, that sucked. We'll fix it.
I gotcha. So with all that going on in the world, how it is, what are you working on next? What is that?
I've been doing a lot of consulting and prop building and escape room building. It's like I thankfully have a couple of side hustles, so I'm able to be creative elsewhere and make money elsewhere, even though it's obviously slowed down. But but yeah, it's for the people who are just performers, it sucks. And I know a lot of guys have had to get real jobs. And thankfully, my wife and I are very paranoid people, so we've saved money for just such an emergency. So.
Well, thank you so much for doing this. Oh, Jimmy C has another question.
Yeah, what's up?
Oops, sorry, Jimmy. I muted you.
Just to mention, my iWatch also can be controlled with Go button.
Yes.
Yeah, which is pretty interesting for anyone watching out there because it's kind of cool just to have it here and be able to touch next. So I thought I'd throw that out there for anyone.
Bill Cook, I think, does that. Bill Cook can run. Yeah. He'll turn the watch face towards himself so he can see it. So he can sit there and just kind of tap it instead of having to do this, which looks weird. Turning the watch face towards yourself lets you be a little more like, a little more clandestine about it.
Yeah, so that's a little tip. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Hey, Bizzaro, this is Brett here again. I just want to let you know I had Masters of Illusion on my TV while your lecture was going on, and while you were showing the chocolate coin routine, they were doing it on the show.
Nice. Oh, Lefty, that's right. He did it on the show, didn't he? Yeah.
Yes, he did.
Nice.
So you get a commission, I guess, right?
Yeah, sure. Why not?
Wow, Bizzaro, this was absolutely phenomenal. I mean,
thanks for having me.
I mean, it was just blow away. I mean,
I could keep on forever, but for a month longer than this, but I won't. So
Well, again, thank you so much. And I want to thank everybody for attending, whether it's through the Zoom room, through YouTube Live. Thank you for coming to the SAM lecture series. We'll see you in 2 weeks on the next episode.
And remember, outro music.
That's right. Lecture series. Bye, everybody. Take it easy.
My speaker died.
Power on.
Yeah. All right.
Are they just doing a series of lectures? Is that, or is it
Yeah. Are we off? Are we still on? What's going on?
John?
Yeah, it's done. The stream is
Oh,
done.
good.